Hi everyone, welcome to our channel, Rebecca Stew in the Crew. I'm Rebecca, and on Thursdays we post DIY craft videos, and occasionally we'll do product reviews and updates. So today we're going to be doing an update to see how this Dollar Tree shirt that we made held up in the wash. We used crayons and Dollar Tree iron-on vinyl to see how it was going to work, and we're going to see how it held up in the wash. So let's see what it did. So first of all, for wash number 1, this is what it looks like before we wash it. Now we've set it in a dryer for 20 minutes to make sure that the wax was set. We're going to wash it, and then we are going to put it in a dryer for 20 minutes. So I put it on a quick wash. It's cold water, high spin, and low soil level for the settings. And then I'm going to wash it with the Tide Sports with Febreze, and we're going to turn the shirt inside out. So make sure you do all those things first. The color faded a very small amount, but the vinyl still looks the same. There's no lifting at all. Wash number 2, we washed it inside out again, but this time we will hang it to dry. The dark brown on the brown tan pumpkin is faded the most. Mainly the dark brown, but it really hasn't faded on any other color. This is wash number 3. I don't see any change at wash number 3. The brown that faded in wash cycle 2 hasn't faded anymore, and the glitter looks good. There's no flaking or anything like that. This is wash number 4. I was checking to see how the vinyl would do in the dryer, so I washed it again and dried it on 20 minutes permanent press. There's no lifting. The glitter's holding on strong. The edges look really good. And then the last wash, which is wash number 5, I'm doing some close-ups here. You guys can see that the glitter is still holding strong. It has not lifted at all, even on top of the places where the crayon is underneath. It has not lifted at all. I'll even show you guys the sides here. So the main fading happened with the crayons between wash 1 and 2. The first one it faded just a tiny bit. The second wash, it actually faded the most. Here's my cat helping out as usual, walking across the shirt. He's always so curious of what I'm doing. But really, there hasn't been any fading since then, as long as I wash it on cold and inside out, and drying it really hasn't done any harm. So this is wash number 5. And as you can see, the glitter and everything still looks really good. So I don't see any issues with that. And I think that the crayon has lifted as much as it's going to, as long as I wash the shirt on inside out and cold water. I don't think there's going to be any more lifting of the color. So it still has that faded look. It faded just a little bit more. So a little bit more of a vintage look there. But I just love how this turned out. And I hope this answers some questions for y'all who had questions on how to make these shirts and how they held up over time. So now let's go over our supplies for our crafts. We're going to need some etching cream and some speedball ink. Also, we're going to be using some either stencils from Dollar Tree, which are these self-adhesive stencils that you can purchase. They have letters, a bunch of different designs like roses and borders. We'll use a Dollar Tree coffee mug. It's the Royal Norfolk brand. And then we'll need some gloves. We're also going to need a paintbrush, and then paper towels, water, sponge, rubbing alcohol, and some masking tape. Now, if you are going to use the Dollar Tree stencils, then you don't need this. But if you have a Cricut and you want to make your own stencil, you'll also need the stencil vinyl, a weeding tool, and some transfer tape. So let's get crafty. So again, if you're using the stencils from Dollar Tree, you won't need to cut out anything, but I'm going to cut out my design on the Paper Studio stencil material from Hobby Lobby, and then we will weed this out. Of course, we're doing the reverse weeding, where we leave the border and we just take out the parts that we want to be able to see. And then once we have all of the pieces of vinyl removed, we're going to take some Dollar Tree clear shelf liner, and we are going to use that as transfer tape. So we're just making it less sticky by putting it on the table a few times. And now we'll lay it on top of our stencil and burnish it down. Once you've done that, you're going to flip it over, and then we're going to peel off the excess so it fits on the cut better. And now you'll just peel the backing off, leaving the stencil behind on the transfer tape. This will help us to line it up and get it on our coffee mug a little bit easier with all those pieces. So now I'm going to take the cup and I'm cleaning it with some rubbing alcohol to make sure there's no fingerprints or oils. I'm taking a small piece of a pool noodle that I cut up so it will keep the cup from sliding. And now we're going to put the stencil on the cup. If it won't go on the cup without rolling, you'll just put little slits in the sides making sure you don't cut your stencil part that you're going to be working with, and then just slowly work it down until you don't have any bubbles. And now we'll take that etching cream and we are going to just put it on top of our stencil. So you're going to put it on kind of thick. I actually left mine on for quite a while. I got busy doing some chores and things around the house. And so mine actually dried, but you can reuse this etching cream. So if you put a lot on and it, you get done with the process, you can actually scrape this off and put it back in the container. But we're going to leave this etching cream on for about 30 minutes. That's what I did. Like I said, I just got busy doing some things around the house. So mine dried all the way on. So it's a little bit difficult to get off here, but I just put it under some lukewarm water and I'm going to just keep rubbing it until it slowly softens and comes off. Once we get most of that off, we can start peeling off our stencil, which I'm doing here. And then, which always makes me laugh when I do the glass etching, is when you are washing it, it almost looks like it didn't work. You can't see any of the lines. You can feel them a little bit, but you really can't see them. But once you get it dry, you have a really nice view of how it etched. So here's what it looks like with just the etching. You can leave it as is now. It has this really pretty subtle design in your cup, which I like a lot. I thought it was pretty. We're going to take this just a little step further and take the Speedball ink. It's for shirts, but we're going to use this on our cup. We're going to just put a very light amount over top of our stencil. We're just trying to get the ink down inside of the grooves where the glass etching took place. As you can see, I'm just doing a very, very small amount and spreading it around as far as I can get one little tiny dot to go. And once I have it all filled in here, I let it sit for about a minute, and then I'll take a dry paper towel and I am just going to rub over top of this and get the excess off and clean it up. And it leaves this really pretty lighter gray color behind because it's just a small amount of white. It actually looks like a two-toned gray design. And look how pretty that made the design just pop out of there. So now this would be hard to wash. I wanted to seal it. So what I did is I took some tape and I'm going to tape off the inside of the mug around the stencil. And I didn't have any like food grade glaze to put over the cup. So I took a small like Dixie cup and this Rust-Oleum lacquer, and I sprayed a little tiny bit in the cup, and I'm going to use a detail brush to only paint over top of where I added that Speedball ink, because I don't want anyone to get sick using this, of course, and I wanted it to be able to be hand washed without the ink color coming off. So like I said, I just spray a tiny little bit in a cup here, and I dip a detail brush in, and I'm just going to go over just the white part that I used the ink. So nowhere near the lip of the cup or anywhere where people are going to be putting their mouth on it. So just be mindful of that. And I still taped off the whole cup to make sure none of the lacquer got inside the cup or anywhere near that. So we'll just let it dry and then the cup is finished. So this is what it looks like. I just love how this turned out. Now let's make our second set of cups here. So we're going to take these Dollar Tree coffee tumblers. They have these cute little sayings on them. And we're going to strip it off with the citrus strip gel. We're also going to use some gloves. You'll need a printer, color printer preferably, and a laminating machine or some self-laminating sheets. I have these laminating pouches. Also, we're going to need some printable vinyl paper from Hobby Lobby. They come in a 10-pack and you can get them for $6.49. Then we'll need some scissors. Also some something you can print. I'm going to print out some colorful paper, and then this template here is for the Dollar Tree cup. So if you print this out at 100%, you will have the right size template. So now what we're going to do is we're going to take that citrus gel and just rub this over the top of the writing on the cups. It works so much faster than using nail polish remover, and I don't have to worry about it eating into the coating on the cups. Then I'm just going to take a scraper after about 30 minutes, and I'm just going to lightly scrape over top of this and remove all of that paint that is put onto the cup. Now you don't have to do this step. This would be a great step if you're using just vinyl on the cup or wanting to paint it or something like that. But I wanted to do this just because I wanted to show you guys how to take the writing off of the cups. You can use these cups in different ways other than what we're going to do with the cups today. So just a little tip there so I could show you guys that the citra gel that we used to make our cups a few weeks ago. In that video where we actually removed the paint to do a stencil, you can use it even just to take off a lot of the designs that Dollar Tree puts on a lot of their items. I know a lot of people use their items as blanks to do Cricut crafting with, and I just want to show an easier way to get those stickers and paint and things off of their products. So now we're going to print out that template, print out your paper that you want to use. I'm going to be using this, and we printed it out on the Paper Studio printable vinyl. Now taking that template, we're just going to draw on top of our vinyl that we printed and, completely draw our stencil, and then we'll cut this out with our scissors. So a lot of times people make these cups doing sublimation. I don't have a sublimation printer. So I thought, what is another way we can do this that's similar but not the same? So we just used regular ink on printable vinyl instead of printing it out and then sublimating it onto vinyl. We'll just skip that step and we'll print it right onto the printable vinyl. So now we're just going to trim around our template here that we have just ran through the laminator 2 times. And what's nice is we put it in the little pouch and laminated it, but because the back has that peelable sticker paper on the back, this backing will come off. But the laminate will stay on the front. And now we've got our sticky side, and we can start applying this to our cup. So again, we're going to use those little pool noodles I cut up. We're going to find the center and then place that up at the top. Make sure you get it underneath of that edge. Always start in the middle and work your way around. Just go very slow, rubbing out all the bubbles. Try to get it up underneath of the lip of the cup as much as possible. So work slow. There's no reason to rush. I just sped the video up here, so I'm not actually working this fast. As you can tell, I'm definitely going way faster than I could in real life. But we're just going to keep working our way around. And I actually made the template. I accidentally cut it a little bit too short because when it printed, it wasn't large enough. And then I had to trim it with the razor blade right underneath the lip of the cup just to get it nice and close. But that's it. That's how you'll do this cup. You'll trim the bottom if you need to. Of course, this will be hand wash only. You really don't want to submerge it either. And this is the second cup we made. It looks very similar. We did it the same way. We just used a scrapbook pattern paper from Hobby Lobby and printed it out by just grabbing a screenshot of it and then printing it out on an 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper and then making our template. So these are all 3 of our cups. Now let's go over craft number 3. We're going to use one of these large wood circle signs and some beads for the hanger. We're also going to use the armor etch again. And we'll need some vinyl paper to make a stencil, or you can buy a stencil. We'll also need some masking tape and the clear transfer paper, some paint brushes, and some chalk paint. We're going to use white for the top, some gel stain for the bottom of the sign. And then I drew out this little picture here. Feel free to grab a screenshot of it and print it out. We'll need a Sharpie marker and some watercolor pencils. We're going to use these little mushrooms from Dollar Tree and some hot glue. So let's get crafty. So the first thing we're going to do is cut out a stencil for the bottom portion of our sign. I measured out the sign. It's 12 by 12 inch circle here. And I just printed out a stencil that is large enough to go across the middle and fill out the whole bottom here. What I'm going to do is like a buffalo plaid design. So I'm going to weed out all the parts that I need to weed out for this design. If you don't have a Cricut, you can again use the stencils from Dollar Tree. And you're just going to place the stencils down on the bottom of your sign. And so you have it completely covered. I'm using the transfer tape to move the stencil onto our wood blank. And once I have the transfer down, I'll just peel that clear tape off and leave our stencil behind. And then we'll trim off any excess stencil. Again, you can buy these stencils from Dollar Tree. Hobby Lobby has stencils you could use as well. You don't have to have a Cricut to do these. Now we're going to take some masking tape and put it across the top to protect it. And we're going to take that Armor All etching cream and we're going to put this on our stencil on the wood sign. I wasn't sure if this would work. I did a small sample the day before on a small wood blank and I was hoping it would work the same. And it did. I was so excited. So I left this out overnight, about 10 hours with the Armor All etching cream on. And then I let it completely dry and I'll just remove our stencil. And then that etching cream, I put it on pretty thick. I'm just going to take a scraper and scrape off that gel. It actually looks almost like a powder now. And you want to scrape it off really well. Try to get it all off of your wood blank. And then once you have it completely off that you think, once you have the scraper done, go ahead and take a damp like paper towel and rub off any excess Armor All etch that is on there. You want to get it all off so it doesn't work against your gel stain when you stain it. You can see it leaves a very small, subtle pattern in the wood. I was so excited that this worked. I think there's lots of ways you could use this. So now I'm going to take the gel stain with a paper towel. I got this at Dollar Tree about a year ago. They had a whole bunch of it. And I am just going to rub this on our wood blank and you can start to see our pattern show up on the wood. I was so excited that this worked. I thought this was really fun. I love the natural wood look for the buffalo plaid. You can see all the different variations in color. And I just add the gel and then once I have it all on, I go ahead and wipe off any excess. Let it dry for a few minutes and then you can remove that tape and actually slide the tape down so that we can paint the top. So then I'm going to take some white paint and completely paint the top. You can add light blue here if you like, because this is going to be the sky to the background. And now I'm going to take one of those foam mushrooms. I'm going to cut it in half with a razor blade. They have like toothpicks inside holding it together as well as glue. So be mindful of that as you're cutting this in half. You might hit something that feels hard. It's kind of like a toothpick. So I'm going to cut this in half, get the top first, remove those sticks, and then finish cutting the bottom portion. We'll set those aside for now. Now I'm just taking some paper and I'm drawing a template for our sign and I drew out this picture. Once I had it all drawn out, I'm just going to trace it with a pencil. And this will help me to flip my design and put it onto my sign. Again, you guys can just go ahead and take a screenshot of this and feel free to print it out. It's 12 inches long and you'll need it about 6 inches high for the print. So you can do half of the sign. So I'm just going to flip it over, rub it with a craft stick, and then it leaves the pencil markings behind. And now I can start to trace these with my watercolor pencils and some Sharpie markers. So I just fill in the inside of the design with these watercolor color pencils. And then I'll trim the outside with a Sharpie marker. And I just completely color this in. And then once I have it colored in, I take my paintbrush and I dip it in a very small amount of water. And I apply the water to the pencil markings and it helps to smooth out the color. And it looks like you've done this really fine detailed painting and really all you've done is colored it in with colored pencils. So it makes it so much easier to paint a really high detailed design. So as you can see here, I'm doing the green. I add just a little bit of green color with the pencil and then a small amount of water. I just drag that color with the water to make the watercolor paint. And we just fill in all these spaces and look how easy it is. And lighter colors you can use to paint right over top of darker colors if you've already got those filled in. So I just keep working, filling in my picture. I didn't take the time to record all of it. I didn't think you guys wanted to see me color in this whole entire top portion of the sign, but I did want to show you guys the technique of using those watercolor pencils. They sell these at Dollar Tree in the plus section for $3. I think it's like a 24 pack. You get quite a few different colors that are really pretty. A couple different shades of blues, greens, pinks, purples, brown, even a tan color. So lots of different colors. As you can see, I do really thick lines on the outside and then I use the water to drag the color to the center. So it gives an ombre, almost faded look. And then you have this really pretty darker trim on the outside. And I use that technique throughout the whole thing. Once that's dry, I'm going to take this Rust-Oleum lacquer and just spray over top of it to seal it. I didn't want to use Mod Podge just because I was afraid of the watercolors smearing. So you can use hairspray also to seal it if you like. Now I'm going to take a little bit of raffia and just make these little knots. And we're going to glue those to each side of the sign. Take our mushrooms. We're going to glue the base down first. And then we'll glue the top of the mushroom down to each side. So I'll repeat this on the opposite side. I don't have the sticks in that hold the mushrooms together, which is why I'm gluing the pieces on separately. And then we'll take our paintbrush and some watered down paint. We're going to write "It's Fall, Y'all." I just hand wrote this with a paintbrush. You can use a stencil, you can use stickers. There's lots of different ways you can letter this. If you have a Cricut, you could cut out some words and put that on the bottom. It was the middle of the night when I was doing this, and I didn't want to wake up my daughter who sleeps in the room next door using the Cricut, so I chose just to go ahead and paint the words onto our sign. So I did a few coats of the white because it wasn't showing up all that well, just because I had watered it down so it would slide a little easier as I was writing. And I take some orange paint. I'm going to dot the ends of the letters just to highlight those a little bit. I did a cute little border around the brown, just with a squiggly line and a dot, and then I filled in some orange around the letters to help them pop with the white background. And then I add a beaded rope for the hanger, and I also use a black Sharpie marker to trace around the words to help them stand out more for our finished sign. And this is what it looks like, you guys. I'm so happy with how this turned out. So cute. Added some little sunflowers to the top where the hanger was at just to help hide the little holes where the string goes in. And those are also from Dollar Tree. So these are all the things we made today. Of course, we've made the 3 coffee mugs. And then we made this cute little sign. I hope you guys enjoyed learning how to make these things with me today. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and share. And here are some other videos from our channel you might also enjoy. Have a great day, everyone.